Welcome to Tuesday Talk with Terry, where empowerment and hope are keys to transformation and wholeness. Here's your host, Terry Hammond.
Hi, friend. Welcome to Tuesday Talk with Terry, where it is my hope that we have some real conversation. Real conversation about what? Today I want to talk about words. I love words. And greater than words, I love the word of the Lord. But today I want to talk about just some of the gifts that we can find within words. One of the gifts that I find within words is in the word, like the word silent, or in the word listen is the word silent. And in the word obedience, in the middle of the word obedience is the word die. And God's love language is obedience. And so in order to be obedient to him, we have to die to ourselves. Like the word fear, the Lord showed me last year that in the word fear was the word ear. And so when I fear, or I am faltering faltering on the side of fear, to give ear to God, ear, right? Drop the F, give ear to God, and listen to what it is that he has to say. But a couple of other words that have really jumped out to me as I have been in the health and wellness for quite some time is the word death, right? In the middle of the word death is the word eat, which should be no surprise to us because we all know that death came into the world by the way of Eve biting into the apple, right? The very thing that God told her not to do is the very thing that she and Adam both did, is they ate from the tree of good and evil. And so they became aware of both good and evil because they disobeyed God. So as a result of their sin of disobedience, death, physical death, and spiritual death entered into the world. And so, not surprised to find that one of the consequences, right, of our sin is death, that we will die physically. But the good news is we don't have to die spiritually if we put our faith in Jesus Christ. And by putting our faith in Jesus Christ, it's as though we die physically, we'll be raised to new life spiritually, which always, right, gives me hope and for eternity. And so we will die, right, death physically, unless the good Lord comes before them. But in that word death and eat, it reminds me that we, as Americans, right, we overeat, right? We overeat. We eat so much that we're just killing ourselves, right? Obesity, heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, all of that is on the rise. In fact, my last podcast was about how heart attacks, heart disease is the number one killer, right, of all Americans. Number one, because of obesity, because of the high blood pressure, because of diabetes, and all of these things. And those are the things that we can actually have an effect on by eating right and exercising. So we can actually change the trajectory of our lives by doing what's right for us, right? And so when I thought about that word, death, we can actually have a positive effect on these negative ailments by eating right and exercising regularly. Another word, right? So if we eat right, exercise regularly, we can have an effect. But people say, okay, well, if I need to eat right, then I need to diet. Well, diet is another word that I love in the fact that diet is the first three letters of diet spelled die. And you put a cross at the end, and diets make you feel like what? Like you're going to die. Like diets really make you feel like there's deprivation, like there's restriction. And so diets, right, are different than healthy eating. Diets, because why is that? Because most diets are restricting, right? They're restricting our calories, restricting our nutrients. And so they're not sustainable over the long haul. They may appear to work at first, and you may lose weight, but the real question is, can I live the rest of my life like this? And usually not. Usually the diets, the fad diets that go around are so low in caloric intake that you can't continue to live like that. Or diets, fad diets that go around, they cut out the essential food groups that are necessary to sustain healthy living. And so you can only sustain it for so long until you give up, and then you go back to your old habits and gain not only the prior weight that you lost, but you gain more because of it, right? Because these fad diets, yo-yo diets, they mess up your metabolism. Your metabolism runs off your body's ability to convert food into energy. When you don't fuel your body with the proper amounts of proteins, carbohydrates, and oils, right? The natural fats that we need, your body produces these essential nutrients on their own. You say, how? Good question. See, muscle is made up of tissue, and it's fueled by protein. So if I restrict my protein intake, that my body needs, right? My body needs protein in order to build muscle, right? Muscle thrives on protein. My body will pull the protein it needs from itself if I restrict it from if I restrict myself from eating it. So in effect, my body then eats from the muscle in order to provide the protein I have need of, right? And muscle from where, right? From what muscle? Any muscle that it can find. So that means my heart is a muscle. So does my body say, oh, I need protein. Terry's not eating protein, so let me grab some protein from inside of her body, right? And, oh, let me avoid the heart because the heart is a muscle, right? No, our bodies will pull protein from wherever it can get it. In fact, actually, that's why anorexics, if they don't find help, die, because their body will actually cannibalize within itself, providing the nutrients that it has need of until their bodies can no longer function, and until their nutritional value is totally gone, and until their hearts just completely stop. And so it's really important that we provide ourselves with the proteins that our body has need of, right? But also carbohydrates. If we restrict the carbohydrates by too much, then our bodies will convert our muscle, take our muscle, convert it into glycogen, right? Through the liver, through all these processes, which is an expensive way to get glycogen, an expensive way to get carbs. It'll produce the carbs that we have need of for our bodies, for our brain power, for our breathing, for our lungs, for just the necessary body functions that we have on a daily basis. So our bodies will produce the things that we don't give it. So these fad diets that say, no protein or all protein and no carbs are not the essential foods that our bodies have need of. We know we need the carbohydrates. We know we need the proteins. We know we need the fats in all the right balance. But when these fad diets come along and we buy into it, and then we're on them for a little while, and yes, we have some weight loss because we've changed the way, we've altered the way that we're eating, and maybe add some exercise. So we see success for a while, but then we either become tired, we become lethargic, we're not as responsive as quickly. And so then we're like, this is not sustainable. And so then we give up. We're like, okay, I lost this amount of weight. This is not working. So we either go to find another diet to follow, or we just give up altogether. And then we go back to our bad habits, and then we gain weight and we gain more than we lost, right? So, and in the meantime, what we're doing is stripping our body, right, of the muscle that we have. And so that in turn, because muscle produces energy, right, we then become, we decrease our muscle mass, decrease the energy that we run on. And so then that's why it's so easy to put on weight and put on extra weight, because now we've taken the metabolism and totally, right, the muscle, and slowed it down. We've removed that, totally slowed it down so that we don't have the same muscle that we had before. And so now the next time we go to start a diet, we start with less muscle, repeat the same type of fads and diets that we did before, and then have these results that are not getting us to the goal that we have need of. And so it's so important for us to eat healthy foods, right? To incorporate healthy eating along with aerobic and anaerobic exercise. So eating healthy fuels our bodies and enables us to basically to fulfill the activities for daily living. But it also enables us, healthy eating, to train, to strength train, right? And strength training, anaerobic training, lifting weights, your body weight, lifting weights at all, helps to produce more muscle, and then helps us to produce or to have a faster metabolism, right? That the calories that we burn at rest. And so we need to be able to eat healthy foods, be able to fuel our bodies, to be able to strength train, rebuild our muscle, and increase our metabolism while incorporating aerobic activity that helps us to shed the unwanted body fat. So important, because, and if you've done this yo-yo dieting or you've done all these fads over all these years and you're just like, what? I can't, no matter what I do, I can't change it. No, because what happens is we're hindering ourselves, right? We're hindering ourselves from doing the very thing that we need to do by eating healthy foods and then being able to strength train, anaerobic training, along with aerobic training together. And so I really want to encourage you that we not eat ourselves to death, but that we also don't diet, deprive ourselves of the foods that God's created for us to be able to eat in the way He's created them, but also to sustain us for daily living. So you need to increase your metabolism, and you can do that through strength training, especially as we age, right? I talked about this on the last podcast, though, and you can go listen to number 7, but about how weight training, strength training will help us to increase our metabolism, especially as we age, right? So the body's going to slow down, the metabolism slows down, but we can have a positive effect on that as we lift weights and as we build that metabolism through that muscle strength. So one way to be able to, what am I eating? Well, I think I eat pretty healthy, or, do I have the right balance of all the foods? The way to know that, friend, is through tracking. And I encourage you to keep track of your foods, the foods that you eat, and the exercise that you do. We had a saying when I was a Weight Watcher leader that went like this: if you bite it, you write it. If you nibble it, you scribble it. If you indulge it, you divulge it. If it goes on your smacker, it goes on your tracker. And why is this true? The studies show that those that keep track, that write it down, that they have greater success. And why is that? It's because we have an awareness, right? We mindlessly eat sometimes. Like we just like, okay, let me go grab this. And we grab something, and before we know it, we've eaten more than we intended, or we forget that we eat. I mean, how many times have you did? I didn't eat breakfast, and you grab that thing on the go, and you're like, oh, I forgot I ate this, this, and this. Well, if you bite it and write it, or if you take a picture of it, right? Take a picture of whatever it's going to eat so you can see throughout the day, journal it down later, write it so that you can see. And then not only does it tell you what you're eating, what you're not eating, it also shows you like, wow, I'm getting a lot of carbohydrates, but not a lot of protein. Or where's the fat? Or I'm getting a lot of fat. Where's the protein? So it kind of gives you an idea, an awareness of where you're at. So with that awareness, right, when you write down what you eat or the exercise that you do, you become more aware of what you really are eating and how much. You become aware of how much exercise you are doing or not doing. And so awareness creates knowledge, and this knowledge can lead to change. And eating right and exercise, we know doesn't guarantee that we won't get sick or that we won't suffer a disease, but it will help us to live our best lives in whatever state we find ourselves in Colossians 3:17. And whatever you do, right? Whatever you do in word or deed, whatever we do, whatever we're ingesting, whatever we're taking in, whatever we're giving out, do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him. The Lord wants us to live the best life that he has for us. And he wants us to do that by eating healthy foods and by taking care of the bodies, these temples that he has gifted us with. And so if you struggle in any of these areas, please reach out. As a faith and fitness coach, I would love to help you get healthy and whole so that you can live the life God has gifted you with to the fullest. You can find me at www.terryhammond.com or on Facebook or Instagram at Coach Terry Hammond. So here's to a healthy and whole you, my friend.
Thanks for listening to Tuesday Talk with Terry. For more resources and to learn more about Terry, you can check out her website at terryhammond.com, or you can follow the link in the show notes. If you really enjoyed listening, make sure to subscribe and tell your friends.